Hi, welcome back to another episode of Geekified. Denzel Washington, Rami Malek, and giving a creepier performance in my current mustache situation, Jared Leto. It's the little things. Yeah, so Little Things, HBO Max, Denzel Washington, Rami Malek, and Jared Leto. Currently, Jared Leto has got a nomination from the Golden Globes for this one. So we're talking about The Little Things, which was just released this week. I've only finished watching it yesterday. Nathan has watched it. Hi, Nathan, how you doing?
Good, man.
So what did you think? We don't, again, like what we always say on this kind of show podcast is we don't really talk to each other about the film. So I've got no idea what Nathan's going to say about it. He's got no idea what I'm going to say about it. So you're getting a really genuine reaction from both of us. We don't have a Scooby-Doo. I know how I felt, and I'm obviously going to find out what Nathan felt. So what do you think, Ben?
It was a bit like the first sort of 45 minutes, I was struggling to hold my attention a little bit. And then as soon as Jared Leto appeared in it, suddenly I was hooked. The last sort of hour and 10 minutes of the film are just phenomenal. Really creepy, really hold your attention. The performances of Denzel and Rami Malek go up a level as well when he comes into it. He seemed to tie the story together much better. I was thinking this was a poor man's Seven. It felt very similar to it.
That's one of the things, one of the exact things I thought.
But then it just gets really good, and then even like the end's just such a cool sort of leave it open ending, which I really liked as well. But like I said, the first 45 minutes, I was like, this is a bit. It was like snail pace. I would describe it rather than it wasn't slow. It was a snail pace, and then as soon as that bit in the shop when Leto turns around and he's in the film from that point onwards, I was completely hooked.
Aye, what he said. That's almost exactly the same. This is quite going to be a boring summary of this film because there's nothing to debate here. But that's exactly it. I thought, do you know what? It was a really, really, really slow-paced film to begin with. I didn't understand the necessity of having it in 1990. I think it was kind of almost pointless unless there was a specific reason in the story that I've completely missed.
Only thing I could think was at the end, obviously they could trace them if they had cell phones. That's the only thing I could think would be why it was set in 1990. I mean, it wasn't based on a book or anything like that. It was just the director, John Lee Hancock, wrote it, and that was when he wrote it for that time period. I know apparently it's supposed to be similar to the serial killer, the Golden Bay Strangler, which was set in that period as well. So I don't know if it's linking into that, but yeah, I thought that as well.
Yeah, that's the first thing that flagged up after a while because it was very, very obvious given it was set it in 1990 straight away, and then make sure you're aware of that setting as well, and then it just kind of disappears, and then I was left with it for so long trying to work out, well, why is it 1990? I don't really understand. But a very, very slow burning thing. But I think I'd be hard pushed to find another actor to put in the place of Denzel Washington for this role, because if it wasn't, it would have been cripplingly boring. But Denzel Washington is one of the greats. He's one of the legendary actors. He doesn't need to do anything on screen. You just watch him. Yeah. And then to have somebody so new, like Rami Malek, I said new, he's obviously been in the acting game for quite some time, but he's obviously just now, he's got a Bond film which isn't out. He's done Night at the Museum. He's probably one of his first kind of big ones. And he's done Mr. Robot, which is a fantastic show if you've not watched it. Absolutely one of the genius level of TV shows. I'd love to do a review with someone if someone would like to do that off the team. But the balance that the two of them kind of gave was almost jarring, and I think that's why it worked for me. The two of them were so different, and what you created with Denzel Washington's character and then Rami Malek's character coming in, it was just a right head to head with the two of them.
That first sort of 40 minutes of the film reminded me of like one of the early episodes in a True Detective season.
Yeah.
It was setting up to something, and even the way they played off each other, and even the way it looked very like that as well, which is why I said it was like, because I think Seven's got that similar sort of dingy look to it, and that's probably why I thought that about it. But yeah, Rami Malek, I think he got better as the film went on. I think the last sort of 5-10 minutes when they're digging the hole, you could see that sort of mania coming over him, which I thought was amazing.
Yeah, I think like Rami Malek did set any. This is one of the films where I know, obviously, in a lot of films and television, it's not filmed in order. You usually find some scenes are filmed first or whatever they can get. This, I think, was filmed in order. Just the way the characters kind of bounced off each other, and especially with Rami Malek, the way that he kind of eventually kind of came to the end, the confidence in him. I say him, the character, the difference in him, the difference the way he played the character was so good. By the time it got to the end, it was incredible. But that brings me around to possibly for me is just an absolute god of acting at the moment is Jared Leto. The minute that guy came on screen for that
It's the
film,
little things he does, though. You know, stuff like I was just reading an article just before we came on there. He refused to wear a wig. He insisted on growing his own hair for it.
yeah, it looked natural.
It
He
looks
had to do
natural.
it. So so you've read it. I've not. I purposely stayed away from.
Little things, yeah.
I purposely stayed away for this review. Did you know? Did he have a prosthetic on?
I don't think so.
I think going from what I could see, if you watch this, stick in the comments if I'm wrong. I've not read anything, so I'd love to talk to someone in the comments about it as well. I thought he had a fake nose.
He might have done, but I find that not Rami Malek, sorry, Jared Leto is one of these guys where he looks very different in everything he does.
Yeah, Jesus. I mean, like he looked
even like
ill.
The cheekbones were like, he's obviously a very good looking man.
Mm-hmm.
But it's like almost like he looked almost like he did in Dallas Buyers Club with the really, severe cheekbones. But the thing I noticed stuff like the walk he did through the whole thing was just like this slow amble all everywhere all the time. It was just really, really
good Scottish word for it was gallus. He was like very gallus walk.
Exactly. It's like almost like the Conor McGregor Vince McMahon thing,
Yeah, very much a swagger, but it's not. This is weird. This is why I think he's such a good actor. It's like it wasn't. It's a swagger, right? So anyone that has a swagger or that kind of gallus walk is usually very confident. That wasn't the walk of a super confident man. It was a walk that almost like the gallusness came from. I don't know, just like almost. It felt like it could have been an injury when you were watching it at the start. I was like, is he hurt or has he done something? But then I started to realize that's the way he walks, and then is this underlying creepiness of the character that was inbuilt that obviously Jared Leto had built onto this guy, that it's almost that he does have a sense of nervousness, but that's underlying psychological horror in him was making him have that swagger. And it was just I mean, from the minute he came on screen, the minute with the torch, I had goosebumps.
I actually watched it on my laptop. And it got to the point where when he came on the screen, I felt myself physically sitting up and taking more notice. And subconsciously, I felt myself going like that because it just. I mean, he introduced him really well. That bit where you can tell something's going to go on in the background, and then he just just turns around and looks at him, and they hold that look for like 2 or 3 seconds. You just thought, this is going to get special now.
Because it was the shot was beautiful. Again, another very, very lovely cinematographer for this as well. So whoever was, or director, whoever's the influence of it, because it can be
cinematographer, something Schwartzman. I did look it up as well.
Yeah, so the way that they did it, because obviously you had a back view, so it was from the back of Jared Leto's character to Denzel Washington, so it was really overexposed. It was like the torch, you couldn't really see anything, so you were getting everything that he could see, and then when it flipped round, you still couldn't see Jared Leto because the light was still so bright, which I thought was just an amazing intro to gradually, you still couldn't make him out. You had like here, you had here at one point, and then you had his hand was there. You never seen his face until slowly, eventually, obviously turns his torch off. And even when he took the torch off, his face was still slowly getting introduced to you. Creepy as shit. Yeah. Whoever made that scene, whoever put that scene together, it was fucking uncomfortable in the best way possible. So well done, whoever done that. I know you probably won't watch this show, but if you do see it, honest to God, I'd love to get inside your head and talk to you about it. It was great.
For me, the most uncomfortable scene was the bit when they first have him in the interrogation room and they're interrogating him.
Yeah,
and you can see that he's enjoying being there.
Yeah,
and he's enjoying all that sort of stuff. And although obviously he gets an erection in that scene, I don't think the erection is from the sights of the dead bodies and stuff. It's the power he has over these two guys that gets him aroused, and just there's so many little hints through the whole film that, I mean, as all of our reviews, we end up doing spoilers, even though it's not supposed to be spoilers. But with this one, I thought,
spoiler alert. So we're going to get any, obviously probably going to get to the end of it now.
because
So that's
I
your
think
spoiler warning.
my thought in the end was Jared Leto's character didn't commit the murder, right? Or any of the murders. He's just a guy, one of these fantasists who wanted the attention and wanted the power over the police, right? And there's these subtle hints all the way through it, right? So at the start, when you see the first girl in the scene, and you see the girl that goes running, and you see the car coming after her, it's a brown car, like I don't know what station wagon, whatever they call them in America. And then you see his car, and although he's got two cars, one of them's the van, and the other one is a green car. So you know from a very, very early point in the film, if you're a weirdo like me and you spot these things, that he probably didn't do it.
Yeah.
At no point, because you see it straight away. They make it, the car is really important. I don't know. It's almost like an extra character in the film at some points. The green car.
No, you make a really valid point, because at the start of the film, they even talk about the cars that he's had, and it's none of the cars that was in that scene. So basically, that's, as far as I was aware, led to believe, or if the director and writers have made us believe this by the end, I didn't think it was him all the way up. I just thought it was a fantasist. But by the time I kind of started to think about it, when I was thinking they were talking about the cars and him selling the cars, they mentioned the cars. None of those were the cars that followed the girl at the start and in the first episode. So yeah, genius, absolute genius.
Even there's a throwaway comment about one time he admitted to a crime, and then they let him go the next morning, a murder, and let him go the next morning, and it's like a 20-second piece of dialogue, and you could easily not miss it necessarily, but the way they say it, it's almost thrown away. Like that's an indication that maybe he would have done it, rather than an indication of maybe he wouldn't have done it, which is really clever the way they did it. But it's just even the bit at the end, where he throws the beret thing on the fire with the red one missing. You're like,
yeah. So this is obviously leading up to the end. Super spoiler now. The morality of this story. This is me. It really got me thinking about it. It got me thinking about, like, obviously Rami Malek. I can't remember her names now. Unfortunately, Rami Malek's character, he killed him. He killed him at cold blood. So he has fundamentally possibly killed an innocent man. He might have been a creepy, disgusting loser, weirdo, whatever you want to call him in the film. That police officer is now, the detective is now a murderer. He murdered him, and they've covered it up. So where's the morality in this film? Because at the end of it, I was still thinking, it's okay. So it made me change what's right.
But Denzel Washington's the same from the previous case they were talking about, which they think is probably the same killer. And that's quite a big reveal when you see that bit when he shoots that third victim.
Yeah, I know it was. That was probably. I did actually. It usually takes a lot. The great thing I like to say on this show is, I think Mark was the first person to actually discuss it. Was that when art makes you, or art, film, and television makes you react physically, it's got you. I said that's one of the best things that I've probably ever heard when it comes to, like, the arts. When that bullet hit that girl and you seen what happened, I literally sat back and went, I actually just sitting on the couch myself, and my cat's looking at me like, what the fuck are you doing? And I'm like, oh shit. And that was my physical reaction. That's when I know a TV show or a film has got me. You totally got me with that. And it was brutal, heartbreaking, but so confusing. And I was conflicted all over the place. So I'm like, at the end of the day, he shot that girl.
Yeah.
So he should have been done for it.
That he was living with that, wasn't he? That's quite the sort of symbolism with the ghosts that were sort of haunting him as well.
Yeah.
As well, I thought.
So listen, that was another point I wanted to make. I wasn't sure if we were going to bring it up, but the ghosts.
Well, it's the ghosts are the three girls from that original crime scene, yeah. So basically, it's the ghosts are his guilt.
His guilt,
There's the two of them. There's the two behind in the cupboard, and her sitting on the bed. And obviously, the reason she's closer is because she was closer to telling him the truth. Because if he hadn't shot her, they would have found out who that guy was, because she got away from him. And the other two are, the reason he's got guilt for them is because he would have been able to solve what happened to them if he hadn't killed her. Is the way I looked at it.
That I fully agree. And that symbolism I completely agree with. But what got me about it was the fact that it's probably not the first film, but it's the first film that I remember where the character is haunted in the way that he is, because obviously there's literally naked women murdered in front of him, standing there, being shot or brutally stabbed or whatever. But it's his reaction. His reaction is he just sits and stares, and you can see the hurt and all the pain and all the anguish that these characters going through. But it was that was what made those moments for me. He could have had the I'm so traumatized kind of stuff going on, but he didn't. It was literally eye to eye with these dead girls, just staring at them, and it was freaking haunting. It was
that bit when he sat in the morgue with the first girl that dies, and he's talking to her, and the mortician comes in through the back,
yeah,
and sees him talking to her, because because of what's happened in the past, he gets so involved in it now because he to sort of almost as if to atone for what he's done previously.
Yeah, he obviously blames himself for everything that has happened, but honest to God, like that, the way that it was dealt with, the way that we did it, just him face to face rather than I've seen that a million times where the ghost kind of haunt him and you jerk up or get a fright or you wake up and there's that shock. None of that in this film. It's all about the little things.
Yeah, no.
And
that's so clever though. The title's so clever because the whole way through, Denzel Washington talks his character, who I think was called Deke or something like that, or Deeks, was talking about Deacon. How Deacon, yeah, the little things are so important. Little things are so important, and to go along with that, the way they shot the film, the little things were so important. You know, the car, the throwaway comments, the little things that were happening all the time, and it was all the little things, which is probably quite probably in a case like that, if you were a detective, it's probably the tiniest things that will make the difference to those cases, you know.
Yeah, I mean, definitely for me, like I think you're spot on with that. There was so many tiny things that were not done big when they usually are in movies. Usually are done quite grandiose, like really massive. But they weren't done in this. Everything was done very simple, very straightforward.
When you think about the cast they got in this, it felt much more like an indie film, like a Sundance film or something like that.
Yes, it was shot like that as well.
The way it was acted, even like the soundtrack was not very sort of grandiose and stuff like a lot of these Hollywood serial killer films. They always got the foreboding piano music and stuff like that. Yeah. And it didn't have any of that. There's even like the sweeping shots of countryside and stuff like that, because that was part of the story as well, which I thought was really interesting. The way they shot it, because Denzel Washington's obviously one of the sort of biggest actors in Hollywood. Rami Malek's one of the biggest up and comers. Jared Leto is known for being a very good character actor through it, so they could have just gone completely the other way with it, you know.
Oh, definitely. I mean, I always look forward to what Denzel Washington does next. Always do. Everything that he does, I'll watch it 100%. Rami Malek, for me, was Mr. Robot. I will forever watch whatever he does because what a performance in that. And then Jared Leto, it's just a god of acting right now. Everything he does is phenomenal. Even the one film that I didn't like, which is Mr. Nobody.
I like that. When he's the guy, you've got 120 years old at the end of it.
It was just boring, but he was good in it. That's the thing. It was like I was bored with the film because it was 3.5 hours long, mate. Jesus,
I really like that film.
I wouldn't say it was a bad film, but it was just too much. It was too long for me. There wasn't enough going on for me, and I was probably a wee bit bored. But Jared Leto's performance in it was the sole thing for me that kept me getting through to the end. Just bloody long. But I think even just a look at the film, I get obviously it said the 90s. The style of it was almost the 90s as well. It's almost that kind of acid treatment over the top of it. Nothing was over the top sharp. Everything was a wee bit kind of hazy. It was almost done like a 90s drama or film. It was exceptional. I mean,
have you watched Mindhunter, the TV show?
Only a few episodes of it.
It felt very like that as well. The look and the feel to the film, and even like the pace of it was a little like that as well. But yeah, like I said, the first half hour I was a bit, I'm not sure. I think there might be a bit of a misstep, and then by the end of it, I absolutely loved it. One of the best films I've seen this year. I've seen quite a
Oh,
few
was it?
so far.
Yeah, without a shadow of a doubt. I mean, it's definitely up there with one of my favourites. Highly recommend to people to watch.
I'll be
just
watching
because,
it again to see if I can spot any more little things in it, because there's probably
Yeah,
more, to be honest.
yeah, and I think given that title was probably a good way to wrap up the episode. The little things are probably the most important, and the little things are the best. And
Even
this thing,
have you seen the poster for it? It's a stunning poster.
yeah, the upside down,
Yeah,
genius.
absolutely stunning poster. Yeah.
Yep, pop up here right now. There you are.
Absolutely
Fantastic poster. Whoever did that, again, it's the little things.
Yeah.
It's exactly.
I was quite surprised because I'd heard the director's name before, but I couldn't think who it was. And I looked back, and he's the guy that directed The Blind Side, the Sandra Bullock film.
Oh, okay. That's a very good film as well.
A good film, yeah, but a completely different film to this.
Yeah.
So
The Blind Side's obviously Oscar worthy as well. I imagine if we weren't in lockdown, this would have been released on cinema.
Yeah, I think originally it was supposed to be end of last year, like November or December time. And it's one of these ones that's been delayed a few times, and eventually it's just gone HBO Max and VOD. So I think, I mean, you would think that there'll be a bit of Oscar love for it in some way.
I think there should, to be honest.
Yeah.
Given there's not even been a great deal that's been out over the course of the last year.
Yeah.
I would definitely say you've got until end of February for Oscar worthiness, I think it is.
I think they're saying April this year, aren't they? They've pushed it back a little bit to try and get a little bit, because obviously there's been a far less release this year. So
yeah. So even films we've not seen, we know that are obviously getting nominations, like in the Emmys and stuff. But I would definitely put that in Oscar contention. And 100% Jared Leto getting the Emmy nomination for that is more than likely. Usually you only get one.
Golden Globes.
Golden Globes, not Emmy. Sorry, correct. Usually when you,
I'm surprised not seeing Denzel in there.
Yeah, usually when you see a Golden Globe, it usually means a bloody Oscar. That's usually how it works. Quite famous for it, but yeah, I would easily give it 4 out of 5 for me.
Yeah, I'd between 4 and 5, 4.5 maybe. Yep.
Yeah, I'm potentially 4.5. I'm undecided.
It's because of that first half hour. It wouldn't get a full 5 stars from me. But I don't know. I think if you could have condensed that into about 20 minutes, 15, 20 minutes.
I think that's
there's a lot of filler there that didn't really need to be there. I think they knew they're just building I think maybe if you've seen it in the cinema with full cinema surround sound and everything.
Yeah.
Different feel to it.
Yeah. I think that as well. I think I probably wouldn't give it the 5 for that reason as well. But I'd definitely between 4 and 4.5. I think I would probably, if I've enjoyed it as much as I have just now on my second viewing, which will probably happen over the next week or so, I would more than happy give it a 4. I'll give it a 4 out of 5, 100% for me.
4.5.
Yeah, so Little Things. Yeah, please watch it. Honestly, you're getting a huge thumbs up from the Geekified team. Obviously the other guys, I don't think any other team have watched it yet. Everyone's too caught up in another little show we've not heard of called WandaVision. I don't know what it is.
Is that one day in the window or something like that? It's called
something like that. It's not a very popular show. You might catch up. There might be another episode that we're going to film literally within seconds of us finishing the next episode. So yeah. Don't want to squeeze WandaVision. WandaVision's getting enough publicity. We're talking here to talk about Little Things. But Little Things, yeah, please watch it. It's a huge thumbs up from us. And if you do watch this episode, like the video, share the video, and if you can, subscribe. And when you subscribe, it doesn't necessarily mean that you're taking me out for dinner or Nathan out for a drink. It just means that we move up the ranks in an algorithm and you see some of the videos that we make in the future. That's all that means. So please, if you can subscribe, that would be amazing. And number 2, get in the comments. I'm in the comments. Nathan's at the comments. Tony's in the comments, Nick's in the comments, Mark's in the comments, and we are all happy to talk to anybody who wants to talk. We're happy for a big, massive debate. Look forward to our Discord coming up. We're going to have a Discord chat where we can have lots of discussions and lots of types of watch parties and stuff we're going to eventually launch soon. But the Little Things, 4 to 4.5 out of 5. I hope you enjoyed it as much as I did. Thank you very much, Nathan.
Cheers.
We can do this all day.